Hey loved ones, I'm Keyosha. It's pronounced Keyosha, meaning key of the ocean. I'm a life coach and a motivational speaker, known for my company Key Coaching, which focuses on self-betterment. In this podcast, I'm going to share with you what I've learned from being a coach. I'll provide you the keys not just to survive, but to thrive. Hey, and welcome back to Wisdom Wednesdays. Today, we'll be talking about the topic of forgiveness. Grab your notebooks, grab your pens, and anything that sparks your mind, feel free to write it down. It's going to be a bumpy ride. So, every time that we think about forgiveness, I think our automatic thought is how we forgive others and what that looks like. We also should consider self-forgiveness. So, forgiveness is ultimately tied in with our expectations. We have expectations on how someone should be behaving, how certain things should turn out, what we should be doing, and how we want things to be ideally. And the reason why forgiveness is a really important tool to utilize is because we know when we're not forgiving somebody else, but the only way that we can be aware of the fact that we're not forgiving ourselves is through a negative habit called being too hard on ourselves. And it's considered a negative habit because we pretty much hold other people to certain expectations. That's a given. It's totally negative because we hold ourselves sometimes to a higher standard than we would even hold any human. Like we're supposed to be perfect. Never say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing, never be late, always be looking flawless or fully done up, and always have everything together. Unfortunately, that's kind of the preconceived notion of like adulting. Is it looks like you got everything going on, everything's good, you're happy, and things aren't fazing you. The reason why that's unrealistic is because life waxes and wanes like the moon, mushrooms, and the ocean. So if we know that our life isn't always flatlands like Alberta, then we also know that there's going to be ups and downs. And so yes, the positives all exist. You're intelligent. You've got this under control. You've got this covered. You can do it. You're great at saying what you need to say when you need to say it. And you look phenomenal. Quite literally, no matter what you're wearing. Point blank, period. With a T. But sometimes we don't feel like that. And the more that we repel those feelings and pretend that they're not happening, the larger they get. If you hold an empty cup or even an empty hand out with your arm extended all 100% for a long period of time, that empty cup / empty hand even of nothing is going to begin to feel heavy. So that's the reason why you've got to put it down sometimes. I heard from a friend of mine, again, dating myself, goosebumps, but she said, sometimes you just need to drop that stuff. She said another word, but so I mean, we're all aware of the fact that it's just not good to hang on to those emotions, those big feelings. Whenever we're excited about something and happy, we don't hold it in. We're obviously like feeling it, we're laughing, we're loud, and we're flamboyant. But when it comes to those feelings that people would consider the quote unquote negative emotions, even though they're just emotions, all the same, like happiness, love, joy, we tend to brush them aside or sweep them under the rug. And so the first thing is naming the feelings when you're feeling them. But as soon as you've got that under your belt, you can start to recognize what those feelings feel like and actually allow yourself to feel those feelings. So maybe something's happened to you, and it could be as little as, I don't know, somebody borrowing something of yours and then breaking it before they return it. The feeling is going to be negative because you feel frustrated, disappointed, and you feel self-resentment. Like, why did I even lend that thing out to that person? Like, I loved those shoes and now they're broken, And so you're like, I should have never done that. And then you're being hard on yourself, and those feelings are big feelings. They are. But when you have those big feelings, like I said, and they're already big, it's not equivalent to holding out an empty hand. You actually have something quite hefty in there, like a ball of lead. You're holding it fully extended for way too long. And it starts to impact your decision making moving forward. Because whenever you experience that disappointment, it's a form of loss, like the loss of an idea that someone might be responsible with your things, and then they haven't been. Or when an individual lets you down in any other way. I mean, I'm sure you can think of plenty of examples. Point and fact of the matter is when you hold on to these feelings too long and they begin to dictate your decision making and your actions, that's when we're experiencing something called holding a grudge. And you don't want a grudge to help you decide whether or not you're going to be helpful to a completely random, different individual in the future who is quite literally and desperately in need of a completely different pair of shoes, for example. So what's the most simple way to remember what a grudge is so that you know when you're experiencing or holding one? It's a persistent feeling of ill will from past insult or injury, causing you to be resentfully unwilling to give, grant, or allow something. What is that something? Forgiveness. And this is also, and more overly, applied to yourself. Every single time that you forgive yourself, you create a healthy habit. And when you forgive yourself and you let go of those negative emotions because you were accidentally late for work, or you ate something that you felt like you weren't supposed to eat, then you get into actually a healthy habit of forgiveness across the board that can allow you to forgive other people because of that human nature. Not every person is perfect at every present moment. That lack of perfection is what makes us human. Thank God. Because life would be boring if everybody was always doing the same thing all the time. I mean, obviously, I can't forget to shed light on the aspect of there being some people that take advantage of your ability to forgive. Because even though you might not forgive yourself very easily, which is just obviously an area that people can improve on, sometimes you forgive other people like that. Snap of a finger, drop of a hat, you know? And then that person actually realizes that you forgive them. It doesn't matter what they did. But they may have done something that's actually traumatic to you. It's not like just breaking a shoe. I don't know why my first example is from Jerry Springer, but like maybe they slept with your best friend slept with your partner or something. Like that's something that they really shouldn't have done. Or your own partner like killed someone. I don't know. I'm being extreme at this point. But obviously there are examples that are unforgivable. And so in instances where you pretty much forgive someone, this is a normal thing that we can become accustomed to. But we might forgive all too often an individual that begins to take advantage of us. It's kind of human nature to push boundaries and try to figure out where I end and where you begin. And that's all that pushing boundaries is. It starts when we're babies. We try to find out like, oh, mom said not to touch that. So I'm going to touch it and see what happens when I touch it. Does mom yell? Does she take it away? What's going on? And so we're just constantly like testing the boundaries throughout our entire lives, through every interaction that we have with every human being. What is okay for me to do and not do with that particular person? Because, mom may have reacted this way when I go towards an electric outlet, but the babysitter or whoever else, as you begin to get older, teachers and peers don't care if you plug something in. And the boundaries shift and change as life goes on. They're circumstantial and they're dependent per person. And that's why they're so fun to test, because that is the spice of life. We have no clue how someone's going to react to us doing something that we feel might be normal or that may have been normal in our demographic. The age range that you are, the generation you come from, your culture. Certain things to say and do are totally fine. And then it's the outrageous thing or talk of the town when someone has an intense reaction because you're just like, whoa, you didn't expect it. That's your norm and that's their abnormal. So Boundaries are fun, and they're meant to be tested to the extent of becoming aware of them and then respecting them. But if you're not respecting your own boundaries, you're giving forgiveness to someone who is taking advantage, then it's equivalent to pretty much, I always use the same example, a dog peeing on your carpet. You rub their nose in it or you tell them not to do it. There's the first thought that comes to mind when you think of a dog peeing on your carpet could be a lot of different disciplinary actions, for sure. Nobody's first reaction is give the dog a treat, though. And so if you're rewarding somebody for their negative actions with your attention and your forgiveness and your time and anything else that you choose to give, love, advice, then you're quite literally rewarding the misbehavior of that dog or homie or friend or partner with a treat for their negative actions. What would you do if you got a treat for something? Do it again. Get another treat. So it's a lot easier when it's broken down that way, yes, but it's not the way things should go. And so there comes a time in our lives where we have to decide whether or not a person is in our life for a season or in our life for a lifetime. And whether or not we need to sever ties with someone based on their repetition in their negative actions. Fool me once, shame on me. Sorry, on you. Fool me twice, shame on me kind of deal. I think that when we're thinking about these things, obviously we need to think about time ranges. Like if I'm saying to somebody, and like everybody will know, it doesn't matter who you are. If you're a human being who has to lift the toilet seat to use the washroom, for me, it's like, okay, put the toilet seat down. But then I also know that the human is going to leave the toilet seat up again. You know what I mean? My brother's going to do it. It's a habit, da-da-da. So you got to give them like time to like adjust to that when they're trying to change their habits that they're living in their life with. So those require prompting, reminders. I have a label on my toilet for my daughter that says flush. Anything, really. Try to help them out. They're just humans testing the boundaries. And those are perfect examples of places where people might need some time to bring themselves to the present moment in the act of autopilot and just change their actions. But when somebody's deliberately doing something that hurts you again after you've forgiven them and you've set that boundary and it continues to happen, it's like a healthier thing to do the 3 strikes severed ties than to know that that person is going to do the same thing to hurt you and just watch it coming your way. Because that doesn't make sense either. The exercise that really helps with forgiveness or just letting go of the feeling, I'm going to touch on after telling you what forgiveness defined is. So with all of that said, forgiveness defined as a conscious, deliberate decision to release feelings of resentment or vengeance towards an entity that has harmed you, regardless if that individual is deserving of forgiveness. So it's just freeing yourself of those feelings. It doesn't matter whether or not that person, in your opinion, deserves to be freed from your feelings of resentment towards them. You deserve to be freed from those feelings. So that's why forgiveness is so valuable. Because in this, we also learn to forgive ourselves. And when we learn to forgive ourselves, vice versa, we learn to forgive others. So when you're feeling these big feelings, you can put your hands in fists and think about the feeling in your palms. Ball up the fists and just imagine putting all those big feelings into your fists. They're growing in size. They're becoming heavier. You can feel them getting ready to explode. And just drop that. Open your hands to your sides. Open wide, fingers spread open apart, and drop that. Don't hang on to it. You deserve to forgive yourself and others. Free yourself of the feelings. And just drop it. So yeah. If you found this useful, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, click the links below. And if you want to follow me on any platform, what is it called? My handle is at Keyosha 333. So feel free to follow me. Song suggestion of the week is Hold Me Like a Grudge by my girl, Tanika Charles. Enjoy. Thanks for joining me, loved ones. See you next week. Bye.